Now it's your turn to factor the trinomial x squared minus 5x minus 24 by working through each of the following steps. If you've not yet completed this example on your own, please pause the video, go through this example on your own first, then return to the video to check your work. We want to factor the trinomial x squared minus 5x minus 24. Knowing that trinomials come from the distribution or foiling of two binomials, we know the x squared term came from the f in the FOIL, the first terms. We know the negative 5x came from the sum of the outside and the inside products, the o and the I. And the negative 24 came from the product of the last terms of each of the binomials. In reference to the general way we describe this trinomial, because it has a leading coefficient of 1, we tend to write these or describe these as being x squared plus bx plus c trinomials. And the question we ask when factoring an x squared plus bx plus c trinomial is what multiplies to make c and adds to b. So we need to find a pair of numbers whose product is negative 24 and whose sum is negative 5. Before we start thinking about numbers that multiply to make negative 24 and add to make negative 5, we want to pause and think about the signs. We always start with the product first. If two things multiply to make a negative 24, because that is a negative product, we know one of the numbers had to be positive and one of the numbers had to be negative. When we look at the sum, the only way to add a positive number and a negative number and end up with a negative result in the end is if the larger number is negative. Because the sum is also negative, we know the larger number must be negative. Now, using all of this information, we can create a table of factor pairs for negative 24. So our first column will have the factor pairs of negative 24. The second column will have the sum of each of those pairs. Going systematically, we know 1 and negative 24 will multiply to make negative 24, and their sum is negative 23. That's not the sum that we need. Next, we would have 2 times negative 12. 2 times negative 12 is negative 24, but 2 plus negative 12 is negative 10. The next pair we could come across, 3 times negative 8. 3 times negative 8 is still negative 24. 3 plus negative 8 is negative 5. Now, while there might be other pairs that multiply to make negative 24, we don't need them. We've found the factor pair that we need. As soon as we find that correct factor pair that multiplies to make the c and adds to make the b, we don't need to go any further. So the factor pair that has the needed sum would be 3 and negative 8. To factor this trinomial of x squared minus 5x minus 24, we know again it's going to factor as two binomials, and each will have an x in the front. That's the only way we could get the x squared in the front of the trinomial. We've also found that the two numbers we need to drop in are positive 3, so a plus 3 in one binomial, and a minus 8 in the other binomial. So x squared minus 5x minus 24 factors as x plus 3 times x minus 8. Again, to check our work, we'll separate out the check from the factoring, making it obvious that this is not part of the original question we're trying to answer, but a check of that. We'll take the factored version that we just came up with, the quantity x plus 3 times x minus 8, and if we FOIL this out, x times x gives us an x squared, x times negative 8 is a negative 8x, 3 times x is a positive 3x, and 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. If we combine our like terms, x squared minus 8x plus 3x minus 24, we will get x squared minus 5x minus 24, which is the trinomial that we had originally started with.